against climate change, under which we will spread awareness about the cause, appeal to our lawmakers, discuss solutions, and take action. We have started our campaign with a pledge, a promise to devote ourselves to the cause, which was taken by the students of the Vidyalaya today. Now, we move forward to today's panel discussion on the topic Challenges of Climate Change. The event is in collaboration with UNICEF and the British High Commission. Our eminent panelists for today are Mr. Peter Cook, Deputy High Commissioner Britain, and Dr. Rajesh Goyal, Head of Central Arid Zone Research Institute, Ladakh, who have joined us virtually. I request Ma'am Principal to present our esteemed guests with a bouquet. I first invite Mr. Rishabh Hemani, Specialist Climate Change and Environment Sustainability. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Shoaib Khan. Next, I request Mr. Lakshmikant Sharma, Head of Environmental Science Department, Central University of Rajasthan. Now I invite Ms. Abid Ahmed, Development Sector Expert. The moderator for today's event is Mr. Shoaib Khan, who is a senior journalist and special correspondent with the Times of India. He covers stories on politics, the environment, climate change, education, culture, legislative assembly, human rights violations, social media, youth, and data-based reports. He is an East-West Center Fellow, United States, working with academicians and journalists on goals common to India and the US. A recipient of the KCK International Award for his reports on water crisis in 2020 by the Patrika Group. He is associated with organizations working on interfaith dialogue and advocacy groups working for social change. I now hand over the event's proceedings to Mr. Shoaib.
Thank you very much. Am I audible to everyone? Right. So my name is Shoaib Khan, and first of all, I would like to thank the school, Mr. Damodar Goyal, Mr. Vikram Singh Ji, Madam Principal, for providing us the platform to share and discuss our views, opinions on the subject climate change, which is going to dominate our lives for the next at least one more century to come. Right, to start this panel discussion, I would like to first of all introduce our esteemed guests one by one. To begin with, we have a senior diplomat, Mr. Peter Cook. Mr. Peter Cook has served in almost 4 continents, and he is in India for the past 2.5 years. Born in Kolkata, spent some years of his childhood in India, Mr. Peter Cook is working day and out to collaborate with India on different aspects, from economy to environment to business to women empowerment. So please give a round of applause to Mr. Cook. Mr. Peter Cook, he has joined with us virtually from Ahmedabad. So moving next to our guest, who is also joined virtually, is Mr. R.K. Goyal. Mr. R.K. Goyal, he is a man on a mission. He is based in Ladakh. He is a leading soil scientist. And the job which is assigned to him is to is to convert the barren land of Ladakh region suitable for growing apples, apricots, onion, to provide source of livelihood to the people of Ladakh. He has served for almost 20 years in Rajasthan and has seen all the developments related to the environment and climate change. Not only he has seen, but he has documented that as well. Please give a round of applause to Mr. R.D. Goyal sir.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thanks very much, sir. Now moving next to our panelists, we have right here Mr. Lakshmikant Sharma. He is the HOD of Environmental Science, Central University of Rajasthan, which is based in Kishangarh, not far from here. Sir has been working as a leading environmentalist, and his almost 80 research papers have been published by leading journals across the globe. Some of his research reports have been mentioned and included by the Ministry of Environment and State Department of Environment. He is here going to share some of his original research did by him. So you have a great opportunity to ask direct question to somebody who is on the center stage of doing his research work on environment. Round of applause for Mr. Sharma. Well, moving next to our panelist, he is Mr. Rishabh Hirmani from UNICEF. He is a specialist in WASH. WASH means water, sanitation and hygiene. Serving in almost 4 states, including Gujarat and Rajasthan. He is also working with communities which are vulnerable to climate change. You're going to hear him, the projects that UNICEF is working in the region, in the state of Rajasthan and in India, and how they're tackling and they are building the capacity of vulnerable communities to climate change. A round of applause for him as well. Now moving to our last panelist, she's youngest among all of us. She is Abir Ahmed, and she has been recognized as the 100 most influential young women in Indian subcontinent by the British Council for her work in climate change, in sustainability, and also in sustainable development goals. She's a development professional, graduated from the University of Bristol, and has been working on several projects in India and in abroad. Round of applause for Abir as well. So now we are done with the introduction part. The first phase is over now. So here, before I ask Peter Cook to share his views, I'd like to share a small story with all of you. There is a village called Bachia in Barmer, in the bordering areas. This village is almost 650 years old. It's a historical village. In the past 10 years, this village is facing a very severe problem of water shortage. So imagine the village which is 650 years old facing the water shortage problem in the last 10 to 15 years. Here, the villagers have to travel almost 25 to 30 kilometers to the next village to fetch a bucket of water. Some are using tractors, some are using mopeds, and some unfortunate ones have to walk across to fetch a bucket of water. Right? Does it sound like a film story? You must have seen such kind of movies as well. Am I right? Right. So I'm now taking you beyond from here. That's a real story. But now I will take you through the reasons behind the scarcity of water in this village, which the villagers are experiencing for the first time in 6 centuries. This village lies on the arid region. This village is experiencing extremes of climatic events. This village has experienced more hotter days than the usual ones. That has stressed the underground water reserves to a level that every year for the past 10 years or 8 years during the month of February they ran short of water. And then the misery of walking to 25 kilometers, 35 kilometers for water begins. The other impact of this village is, and that is happening in Rajasthan, not far from here. This village is experiencing migration of villagers along with their livestock. To cut short the story here, I would like to quote a report by International Institute of Environment Science, United Kingdom. They carried a survey in 2019 in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So their survey report is available on Google that says that 28% of the household in Rajasthan are experiencing migration due to changing extremes of climate. So that's the pathetic state we have reached. Now I would like to call upon Peter Cook. So all the panelists will have 5 minutes to speak their mind, then we will start with a panel discussion, and in the end, students will have the opportunity to ask questions, right? So over the mic to you, Peter. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shoaib. Good morning, namaskar. I'm delighted to join you today. I'm sitting in Ahmedabad, so I'm not too far away. It's a lovely morning here. I hope it's a lovely morning with you. Please, can I just say a very quick thank you for this really kind invitation to join you this morning, to join the students from the Maharaja Sawai Man Singh School, and to the people who have put this organization together, Mr. Damodar Goyal, Mr. Vikram Dityaji, and also for Erum and Mr. R.K. Goyal. Fantastic to join you today, really glad to be here, and grateful for the opportunity to talk. We're about to conclude, I think today is the last day of COP27. This has been another important meeting of world leaders to try to come together to fix the problem of climate change. Last year, this took place in Glasgow, in my country, in the United Kingdom. And there was actually quite a lot of good progress made to try and build a more sustainable answer for climate change, for our people, for our world, for our homes, where we live. And I'm pleased that in many respects we have been able to go further this year. But there is still a lot of work left to be done. There are big questions that remain to try and clean up our environment, to clean up our air pollution, to manage our water resources better, to help all countries manage the transition from old fossil fuel energy, coal, oil, across to renewable energy. And I know that Rajasthan has been a leader in renewable energy in India. And we want to do much more here with Rajasthan, with India, to try and promote renewable energy solutions. But we also need to look at other areas where there are huge challenges, how we can adapt our own consumption of energy, how we can look for energy-saving devices, take the diesel and the petrol cars off the road to try and make a real impact. Let's use electric cars, hydrogen, let's use more solar power, wind power. There is a lot more that we need to do, and it has to get faster. It has to get much more dynamic. Let me say that remains a challenge for all countries, but we do hope that UK and India will work together as leading partners in the world to make this happen. We hope to do a lot more. There are some really important announcements. UK and India have agreed for a 10 lakh crore fund to try and sponsor renewable energy projects. And one of the first awards of that fund was £150 million. I'm not sure how many that is in crores, in crore rupees, but £150 million was spent in Badla on a solar farm in Badla. And the UK has paid for that through an investment in one of India's leading companies, Ayana Renewable Power. So we're trying to put our money where our mouth is. We're trying to make sure that UK and India work together in partnership. That is terribly important for us. Can I say just a little word also to the students to say, part of the challenge for the next generation is to carry forward this leadership, to carry forward this encouragement that we need to do better to protect our planet. And we want very much to encourage more collaboration, more discussion, more research, more studies. So I want to say to the students, please do look at the UK for studying these kind of subjects. We have a number of scholarships available, which take students to UK for their bachelor degrees, for their master's degrees, for their PhD degrees. we do need to have more people engaged on this particular challenge. And I would love to see some of the pupils from Maharaja Sawai Man Singh School apply for these scholarships so that we can encourage more partnership between UK and India. And that is something that I would be delighted to see. So I really hope we will have some young students in our audience today who will become the leaders of tomorrow, who will become the agents of change for climate, because that is the best thing we can do to continue this fight, this struggle to protect our planet. Thank you very much indeed, Shoaib. Back to you.
Thank you very much for taking through your plans, your country plans in mitigating the impact of climate change across the globe, in India as well, and also sharing tips to students how they can crack international scholarships on this subject. Thank you very much. So next I move to Mr. Rajesh Kumar Goyal. Sir, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir. So it's your turn, sir. Go ahead with your views and opinions. Stage is yours.
Very good morning to all the colleague panelists, Mr. Cook, Mr. Hamani, Mr. Khan, Dr. Sharma, Ms. Aveen, and all the students of Sawai Man Singh Vidyalaya. Very good morning to all of you. I'm Dr. R.K. Goyal. I'm Principal Scientist working at the research station of Central Electron Research Institute at Leh, Ladakh. So I'm at the extreme cold area, and I would like to show you the current temperature of Leh, where I'm speaking right now. You can see the weather. It's -3, -2. Can you see it? So the temperature is -2 in the Leh. So I am sitting in the extreme cold of part of Leh Ladakh. And coming to my opening remarks regarding challenges of climate change, I would like to say that every day challenge, so is the climate. Yes, climate change is a challenge for all of us. And you must have heard that global warming and climate change, we use both the terms synonymously. Means global warming is one of the most important concerns of climate change. In the recent 30-40 years, we have observed a slight increase in temperature of the entire globe. That's why we say that global change, global warming or climate change. So climate change is a real challenge for all of us, and it has a different meaning for all of us. For farmers, it has a different meaning. For industrial, it has a different meaning. For student, it has a different meaning. If I see in context of as an agriculture scientist, I can say that global warming has many challenges for all of us. Number one, as you know, if the temperature of the globe is increased, it has a certain effect on our cropping pattern, our maturity of crops, and there are so many things, attack of insect and pest, then in terms of water requirement. Since I'm hydrologist and I have worked about 30 years in Rajasthan, so I would like to have my initial remark on how climate change or global warming is going to affect the water sources of you can say Rajasthan or Ladakh, whatever you want to say that. You know, one of the basic requirements of any human being or plant is water. And actually what happens, let me explain you in simple terms. Suppose suppose I put 10 liters of water in a plant. Actually plant utilizes only, let us say 500 ml of water. Remaining 9.5 liter of water is being lost as evapotranspiration. Means we have to give 10 liter of water, and out of 10 liter of water, 9.5 liter of water is lost as evapotranspiration. So it's essential evil. Same in case of human being also. We take a lot of water, but we actually utilize a very little amount of water to keep our body in a functional condition. So evapotranspiration is the basic requirement of any plants. And when we talk in terms of how much water we require, of the total water needed for the human being, 90% water is used for agriculture. And out of these 90% water, 95% water is being lost as evapotranspiration. And temperature is one of the important components of evapotranspiration. Friends, if you increase the temperature, you can imagine how much the evapotranspiration will increase. It has a direct relationship with the evapotranspiration. If you increase the temperature by 0.5 degree, it has an enormous effect on the evapotranspiration. And we have to meet the demand of evapotranspiration. Let me come to Rajasthan, our capital area here. You see, if you increase the temperature by only 1 degree centigrade, we need 15 millimeter of additional water to maintain the present cropping system. That means, if we calculate the total water requirement of, let us say, entire Rajasthan or Western Rajasthan, if temperature increases by 1 degree centigrade, it will have a 40% additional resources, stress on the groundwater resources. So you can imagine the problem is very huge. And we have to address this problem by adopting a proper, we have to devise a new system to meet the challenge of global warming. Let us say, we have to find some mechanism to save water. It may be your school, it may be your farm, it may be your house. We need a mindset. We need a mindset to change how we can use the water most wisely. We have to go for crops which require less water. We have to go for those devices at house which require less water. And a few days back, we published a very small article in Times of India with Mr. Shoaib, and I have given a tagline: everyone has to save his own water. We have to save our own water. Means at every house we must have our own drinking water. That is my purpose. That to meet the challenge of global warming, everyone must have own water. Every school must have their own water. And one of the interesting finding I can say that unfortunately 70 or 80% area of Rajasthan doesn't have good groundwater quality. The water is not good for drinking. About 70 to 80% groundwater is not potable for any purposes. Even areas, it's very deep, it's brackish, and it's very difficult to withdraw water from a deeper layer of groundwater, and the quality is very good. So there is a need that everyone must have its own water. It may be a school, it may be your own house, or maybe a farm. But there are many practices available which we will discuss later on. And right now, in terms of Ladakh, climate change is having a very severe effect in Ladakh. In Ladakh, the source of water is the glaciers. And as you know, you must have read the many reports that glaciers are melting away because of increasing temperature. So it has certainly affected the agriculture scenario of Ladakh, and there is a lot to be done in Ladakh to meet the challenges of global warming. And I always love to say that we should divide the risk of climate change. You see, crops are having more risk. So we can definitely switch over to horticulture crops, which can sustain a different type of weathers, different type of climate change. So in Ladakh, what we are doing there, we are propagating horticulture crops like apricots, apple, civet. There are many crops which can sustain the effects of global warming in Ladakh. So with this initial remarks, I hand over to Shoaib for next. Thank you.
Right, right. Thank you very much. So what he said that because of the climate change, because of the rise in temperature in Jaipur city alone, it's causing 15% additional stress on our water reserves, and which are going to continue. So thank you very much, sir. Next, we are moving to L.K. Sharma ji for his initial remarks. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning, all of you, and welcome to this very prestigious and very dynamic session among all these dignitaries. I just want to draw your kind attention toward the climate change, how the climate change is very severe threat is going toward to the whole globe actually. Everybody is talking. My question is that everybody know about the climate change, because we even every day I can say we are just knowing the word or listening the word climate change is going, climate change is going. But do you know that the we have sufficient data to claim this type of things? No, because if we have the 100 years of data sets and then we can analyze all these things, then we can say it's a climate change situation. Otherwise, everybody is claiming that this is due to the climate change. That cannot be a perfect answer of all these questions. So let me explain first thing that if we have the data policy, if we have the data management system, then we can analysis all these things and ultimately we can say this is due to the climate change. One of the research we have published recently, which is based on, actually my area of work is the conservation of natural resources through remote sensing and GIS. You may not be aware about the particular terms of the geospatial technology or all these things, but 1972 onwards, as the ISRO was launched the Aryabhatta, then we have got the opportunity to do this type of work in the remote sensing areas. And not only in the other areas, in environmental science, we are using the remote sensing work there. And due to this one, we got the database actually. So now what we are doing taking the 1962 onward or 72 onwards data set from satellite imageries, and until 2022, we are taking the images. And after the analysis, we can find out that yes, definitely all the situations which is going into the Rajasthan itself, which is we are very premier, habitat of this country, because Thar desert is there also. One side Thar desert, one side semi-arid regions, and other side the very dry land is also there. So it's a very diversified state which we are living here, and definitely it is affected due to the climate change on the basis of some type of the scientific databases. Our study is already published in different publication houses, different spin-offs and Elsevier journals also. But we have two stories basically we have worked. One is the Sambar Lake, which is a very well-known site for the natural wetlands. And the wetland is very, very critical situation right now and threatening to the situation created for the natural resources degradation or the climate change situation creations. So everybody is talking about the climate change, and can we stop the climate change situation? No, never. It is not we are not in the position to stop the climate change situation because it's a nature-based phenomenon. One time we are just going to developmental activities, we can stop the developmental activities. One time we are going for create the solution. So each thing is parallelly going on. One time we are just creating the problem, one time we are just diminishing the problem, and we have to create different type of solutions there. It means we are nothing doing actually in terms of the climate change adaptation or mechanisms. And due to this one, because the climate change is a nature-based creation, the solution is also a nature-based solution there. So that's why my concern is that I am working on the nature-based solution of the climate change. I am not taking about all these things that I can stop or I can change the situation, because this is not in my hand or this is not in your hand also. But we can sustain in a nature-based environment, we can create a nature-based environment that is in our hands. And that is the one most solution for this climate change adaptation and mitigation of these changes. So my appeal to all of you that please behave with these nature-based solutions. What is the nature-based solution? I can elaborate in different ways. Likewise, we are living in the environment where the houses surrounded by the forest areas or surrounded by the water bodies is there, which is nearly some of the forested land is also there. The forest land in between the houses is also there, they will be the major source of the carbon deposition of the particular environment. So if we are living in the environment particularly, then we can say the carbon balance will be also there. Otherwise, the carbon is releasing and carbon is absorbing. That totally different thing is there. So we have to minimize the things where we can increase in the carbon level. Similar side, we have to also conserve or sequester the carbon in the particular term. So nature is providing the solution in different ways. We have to create the things to develop or adopt the nature-based solutions. That is the only mechanism to defeat this climate change. Otherwise, it's impossible thing, and we are suffering a lot. Our generation will suffering a lot. So definitely, this type of the awareness program will definitely our younger generations will be motivated, and definitely they will do better for this nature-based solutions of the climate change. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, educated, nature-based solutions to counter the problem. But I think I'm going to mention about one of his research work which has created storm in the Delhi, in the ministry, in the union government. And that report was, I think it was way back in 2019-20, which report said that sandstorms from Rajasthan are going to hit or going to reach NCR. The dust particles from the western Rajasthan are already hitting and contributing the air pollution of the NCR region. That report actually get a lot of invitation from the central government. They have actually then sent a committee also to study and to verify the facts stated by Mr. Sharma. So a round of applause for him again. Thank you. So moving to the next panelist, we have Rushab. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will prefer to use the stage. It's an honor and a privilege to be here in this school and be a part of this very important session that we are discussing. We did hear some bit about the challenge that we are facing, and I'm sure you would have learned this in your classes and in your subjects, environmental science. I had a plan to present few slides, but probably I'm changing it a bit. I would like to make it a little more personal. When I see young children sitting here, it transports me back to my school days, my own journey with UNICEF, how I reached here. The time that we were in school, and I remember I was in grade 6, we used to have cards from UNICEF which we used to sell, and where the proceedings would come back and would be used for children, which are underprivileged children. Similarly, we also were engaged in activities for the elderly, and many such activities did bring in some sensitivity within us. Today we are talking about climate change. I'm not going to talk about statistics. I do have some numbers, but I'm not going there. I'm sure you are more equipped to go through your books, whatever information is available. I would like to share a few thoughts, and maybe I would like to hear from you how you would like to, maybe if you have any thoughts, your reflections, your questions, maybe we have scope to discuss. So this is also a time, actually tomorrow marks 20th November, is a day which marks Convention for the Right of the Child. It was enshrined in 1989, and this the premise of this convention is for every child, and it talks about indiscrimination. It talks about how every child is enshrined to the right for protection, for development, for growth, for water and sanitation, and that's what UNICEF stands for. Taking this journey forward, climate change is on our face. We have heard about what it is about, but what's important here is what we can do in our own capacity, collectively, as a school, individual, as a child, in our own neighborhood. Bigger problems can be resolved by smaller steps. It's a step in the right direction which can really bring about a change. And I know that every eye I see a sparkle in a possibility. I would really look forward, because you are going to be the torchbearers for tomorrow. There will be bigger challenges, more complex challenges, but you are being equipped both in school and in your family environment. And I'm sure, however bigger the challenge would be, we will rise to the occasion. Our history has proven that, COVID has been a recent case, probably in our human history, in such a short span. We have not managed, we've managed to find no vaccination, which wasn't a trial, but it was an emergency trial, and we could really collectively come together. Probably today we are all privileged to be here, sitting in this hall, but let us transport ourselves. Sharji, you mentioned about Bardner. Let's look at a child which is there in a very remote corner. Probably you would have traveled across our country and maybe beyond. But also to some remote places, maybe a rural village. And we are privileged, but are they getting the basic rights? So this is where the equity aspect comes in. This is where UNICEF is working for addressing rights of children through its various programs in the area of health, nutrition, water sanitation, hygiene, protection, social policy. Coming to today's topic, increasingly because of climate change, UNICEF has been looking at a shift from the new country program that we are entering. So the WASH program that I work with the Rajasthan team is now also expanding its base to climate change and environmental sustainability. This morning, before I came here, we had a brief discussion with the management team, and I'm joyed to say that this is a first step in a long-drawn journey of how we all can come together and bring change. In the same journey, UNICEF has now initiated work engaging children, so it is not just for every child, but with every child. So how can we engage with youth? How can youth be the change makers? And change makers not just by way of bringing issues or just raising issues in some of the forums like this, but they amplify voices. And when we can even look at social media, we can look at some of the campaigns on the ground. So this is something, is a power of collective forces coming together. We can pick up an issue, and let me give you some simple examples in our own sphere. So I was given to understand that before we started the session, there was a pledge that every one of us had taken here about not using plastic bottles in the school, which is, I think, a very progressive step to begin with. We did discuss and debate about the supply side and demand side and how, but these are small steps. It's about being sensitive to issues. So how can we do more in our own sphere of influence? So it starts with us as an individual. What can I do in my own sphere, in my own life? So maybe one of the things which we may have studied in our school books and also in classes is about reduce, reuse, recycle. And then now there are new R's that are getting added. So first is can we, in my own individual capacity, reduce maybe say, for instance, I'm talking about plastic for now. Then in our own sphere of influence, as in our own family, in our own neighborhood, we do see a lot of problems, and in a democracy, it's also about collective efforts. So can we be the change promoted by government, the flagship programs like Swachh Bharat Mission? But the guidelines does mention it, but there is also a side where we as community, as citizens, need to bring about change. I think these are areas where you can do small things. There are now applications where you can post a photograph and it goes to government, and that is also peer monitoring. So modern tools are available. You can raise voices. You can probably teachers, during the classroom transactions, you would be having some assignments. You can look at live kind of assignments where children bring in issues. I'm sure you will be doing it. But then how does it go to the authorities? And this is probably an area where we can collaborate. We can, because we work with government system. Currently, we are working in rural spaces, but we are increasingly working for urban poor. So the communities which resides in an informal settlement or a formal settlement, in who do not have access to facilities. So these are areas where collaborations can happen. So what I would suggest is when we go back today, it's a Saturday morning, we go back with the thought that what can I do in my own influence? Problems are bigger, but I'm sure with smaller steps we can achieve some results together. In course of the day, I had a few thoughts. So this year's theme for children, Children's Day, World Children's Day is Sports for Inclusion. I did see that you have some very good sports facilities, but then, and we recently did a football match with the underprivileged girls in Ajmer, and it turned out to be a real big event. How can that also be a game changer? So there are some areas where we can bring some influence together in our own area. The last thing on water sanitation, I think things have already been addressed. I'm not getting into detail of the water stress, the water quality issues, the sanitation challenge. But today also marks 19th November is also the World Toilet Day. And the focus area is making the invisible visible. So some of the challenges, we are all privileged and probably we do not know that when the Swachh Bharat mission was launched, half of India's population was defecating in open. They had to go out and defecate and relieve themselves. So a big flagship program and probably of this scale, which was very ambitious, was rolled out. Given the timelines, there are challenges, and this is an area where we also support. So maybe I do not know whether there are scope where children get to go to, say, maybe a nearby village and get to see the life, not a peri-urban area, but a remote area. Internalize and immerse. So we do a lot of immersion visits for our own team to better program, because many a times there are gaps between policies and its implementation on the ground. So there is a national campaign being launched on toilet retrofitting. Toilets that were built with a little bit of a rush, there were issues. So how can we retrofit that? And this is an area where some of the technical areas where UNICEF has supported. So there are possibilities where every one of us here can bring about some change. And all of this eventually links to the climate change challenge. And it's not always about policies or upstream work, but sometimes it's a combination of upstream and downstream work. So for now, I would leave it at this. Maybe during the question-answer session and interaction, I would be looking forward to the reflection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rishad. He has rightly said that small steps are all equally important. And he talked about it, how modern tools you can utilize to highlight a problem. There are various applications available by the local municipal corporation where you can highlight the issue of your local area. Now moving on to our next and the last panelist, Abhi. Over to you, Abhi.
Thank you. Thank you to the school organizers for allowing me to share my views. And thank you to all of you for listening to us. A lot has been said about the climate change and the climate issue, right? And this is like mostly talked around when the COP occurs. And I particularly remember from the COP 26, which was held like in the last year at Glasgow, we are all familiar with Greta Thunberg, right? And she would say mostly on the blah, blah, blah speech of, political leaders. And she would always say that, climate activists generally come from that perspective that political leaders come with a privilege and they're not doing enough. And over the last 26 years, they haven't done enough. So when we talk about this privilege, I also have that privilege, you also have that privilege, and all of us have a privilege. So is there anything that we can do about it? Yes, we can. Can we widen that table where we include those who do not have the privilege? This is exactly what we can do. And this is also what is something being talked about at the current COP, which is going around in Egypt, obviously, where now the government, civil actors, different individuals, activists are talking about how we can humanize this entire concept of climate change, which means people like you and me can actually get involved into it. When we think that, no, we cannot do much, maybe the political leaders are responsible for it, maybe the decision makers are responsible for it, or maybe businesses should be doing enough. So we you and me as a small unit together can actually look at the loss and damage that is being created by this issue. We are a very small unit, for sure, but can we do enough? Of course we can. Should we just turn off the tap, of the water running? Should we just maybe turn off our cars at the traffic light? Or maybe just not waste too much plastic? Or maybe just, take smaller steps which are contributing to bigger changes. My only perspective of this comes from the fact that I also started as a student, right? I wasn't aware. I tried gaining that knowledge and tried getting myself involved into different programs, and that's when I happened to be part of the British Council's large cohort of change makers who are across the globe. So we were trained for that. So maybe you can do that too. Find opportunities which provide you the platform to, become part of that global change maker, influencers who are changing, at smaller steps. So having said that, I see, like most of you could be like next generation's policy leaders. You can be the top corporate leader tomorrow. You can be the next Greta Thunberg of Rajasthan, right? So with that, it means that you have to begin thinking about it. And you have to start adapting to certain sustainable lifestyles which either the school is providing. I don't say you have to go on a school strike like Greta Thunberg, okay? I'm not saying that. But maybe you can just adapt those little lifestyle changes to become more aware and to be able to become part of that entire ecosystem where you're becoming, change makers. You can be next innovators as well. So with that said, I would probably say that as part of individuals and part of civil societies, collective action is very, very, very important. Because I don't want to leave a world where, I'm passing it to future generations just like that. It has to be very responsible. I don't want to be part of a world which, where maybe indigenous communities are dying in reverse. Children in different parts of India are actually having schools where they are flooded because of, landslides. We are definitely very privileged, but let's make use of this privilege. And as Rishabh also mentioned, right? We are all here discussing this right now, but we are also facilitating that space where together you all, I, him, he, all of us can come together and just find a platform where we're working together. Is it something where you have an idea? We'll take that ahead. Do you want to talk to us? We all are available, right? So just open up that space and start thinking about it, and also start exposing yourself to more sustainable ways of that. So there are so many green jobs coming right now, and you're just at the beginning of the stage where you can actually build yourself. So with that said, there is a lot that actually can be said and has already been said, so I just keep it a little bit simple. We'll just talk in the process maybe. So yes, thank you.
Right, thank you, Abhi. So she just shared how we all can become harbinger of change by taking smaller steps, as was rightly Rishabh said. Now, so we are moving back to Peter. Peter, can you hear us? Right, Peter, you have to. Yes. So the first question, which comes to my mind is that we all are very keen to know what UK Mission is doing in Rajasthan, not in India, but in Rajasthan, specifically in Rajasthan, to reverse the impact of climate change. Yeah.
Thank you, Shoaib. I'm delighted to answer that question. I mentioned before that we had made this large investment in one of the solar power renewable energy plants in Badla in Rajasthan. That is obviously one of the key areas where we think we can help deliver benefit to the people of Rajasthan, and we want to do more in that area. There is a thing called the Green Growth Equity Fund, which supports all of these projects. And so for any of our students, for any of our audience today that think they have a project that they think they may be able to support, then we are very happy to look at that, to see what we can do to sponsor, to finance that kind of change. We're very keen, I think, to engage. Let me share another example of something very specific we are doing in Rajasthan. In Jodhpur, we know that the challenges of desertification, the desert is creeping closer and closer to the cities, to the towns, to the farms of many in the rural community in Rajasthan. You mentioned the sandstorms, I'm sure of yourself. The real challenge of this is destroying, obviously, farmland. It is destroying the natural habitats where we can hopefully build the nature-based solutions that we were talking about earlier. There is a UK company working in partnership with the Indian company to reforest that area, to take date palm trees and plant them in the desert. And this is helping in a number of important ways. We have 800 acres of desert that has now become green again. And this is helping farmers. It is giving them date palms. It's another cash crop where farmers can earn money. It is helping to support a new ecosystem that is helping to conserve water, because one of the things the date palm does is it holds water inside the plants, and we can tap into that when we need to draw water. So hopefully it will aid the water crisis and not destabilize the water even further. It's also going to provide the new nature-based solutions for many of our species, many of our bird species, many of the insects, many of the other elements of nature that are so vital if we are going to try and stop the desertification. Rajasthan is on the front line of climate change. We need to do much more to try and support holding back the desert and trying to make these investments, make these projects, turn the tide so that the desert doesn't come any further into Rajasthan. So that's another point. But the last thing I want to say, and I want to really just to add what I was mentioning about scholarships, and I'm talking to an audience of school, from a school, so it's particularly important, and I 100% support the message on change makers, and that we are all change makers if we want to be. And so the other area that we are spending a lot of time and energy is investing in education. The University of Glasgow has just agreed a project in India for an Institute of Sustainability, looking at water management, looking at waste management, looking at other areas where we can help society in India make the change. Very pleased that actually the head of this institute, the head of the institute from Glasgow, is an Indian professor, Professor Asif Biswas, who is a world-renowned expert in water management. He serves on the UN panel for climate change. He has contributed countless areas of research and study to this particular, and he is a leader in his field. Delighted that he is now helping us to tackle these challenges for Rajasthan, for India. But the real message is that we need to have more professors like Professor Asif Biswas. So the message I want to pick up for the change makers that are in the audience today is that please learn. Take the opportunity to learn, to study, to understand how we make these changes. Please take this time to teach others, to make them aware, to explain why climate change is a really important area. We need future leaders to help us. My generation has failed to do this job properly, and we must pass the baton on to the next generation. So it is so important that all the young people in the room pick up that challenge and become the leaders, the change agents, the change makers for the future. And we will invest in education systems to try and enable that process, bringing more universities to come and collaborate with Indian ones and to take more students from India to UK universities where we can study these problems, these challenges, and come up with the solutions for tomorrow. That's what we would like to do. We're doing some good things. We would like to do a lot more, but that's what we're doing in Rajasthan.
Right, thank you, Peter, for the response. So, students, the biggest takeaway from his responses, and I repeat, he said, if you have any proposal related to the environment or climate change, there is a British government ready to sponsor your project. So work on it, correct? Thank you. So, my another question is for both the academicians, Mr. Lakshmikant Sharma and R.K. Goel. So tell us, are you happy with the kind of funding Government of India and other funding agencies are giving to you to do your research work when it comes to subjects like environment studies or climate change?
Hello?
From my point of view, sir, my experience is that funding is there, and funding is provided by the government, central government itself. But from state government side, no funding is there, I think. So it should be enhanced, first thing. State government should more come forward toward this climate change situation mitigation approach and all these things, because it's also a state matter also. And from central government side, I think that the fund is there, but distributing is also questionable. And particularly the target group should be identified so that the money should be go in the hands of the right direction actually. Otherwise, those who are working since so many times in that particular area, they are not getting the fund, and ultimately the actual research is missing out, and the other themes is coming out, and particularly the need for this fund is actually utilizable for the climate change adaptation and climate change research program actually. So that should be properly monitored, that whether the fund is going toward the right direction or not. So that is more and more requirement right now.
Right, sir. It's your turn. Yeah, go ahead, sir. It's your turn.
That's a very good question you have asked. And being a central government institution of ICR, right now we are having so many projects dedicated to climate change studies. We are getting funds from ICR, we are getting funds from GST, DBT. We are having a very specific project running at our institute at Jodhpur as well as at Leh to address the problem of climate change, and we are getting some good results. So I think funds as such is not a problem for we central government agencies. We are having many projects of central governments for climate change studies.
Right, sir. So, you want to make some point, please?
Actually, I agree with this one that the fund is available. But my question again is that the fund should be going to the right direction, because Government of India every year releases thousands of crore rupees for the government money to spend this type of research work. But what is the outcome? That should also be monitored. Because we are not focusing on the outcomes. We are just emphasize on the how much government is money spreading toward the particular organizations. But our approach and the grassroots persons, particularly the person who is affected or they might be affected, what type of the situation is there? So that should be also monitored. And again, the funding agencies should be required to monitor properly. Otherwise, what happens, the government money will be wasted and the result will be zero. So that is the question, is that everybody is in mind. As a layman, I can ask that how much money is spending by the government and in return what I am getting. So that is the actual scenario of this one. That we want that what money is given by the government agencies and taking by the government agencies, and how they are spending the money in terms of the actual mitigation of the problems actually. Thank you.
Right. So now I would like to hear from Rusha. As Peter rightly pointed out, they have a lot of funding channels to fund and to sponsor projects in the state of Rajasthan. And sir has rightly pointed out that the state is not providing enough funding. So UNICEF, do you have any mandate? What all kind of projects you are working in the state? And as you said that you're working with the vulnerable communities in 4 to 5 states. So what kind of funding channels you have to support them?
So we have a young participant with us. So in terms of UNICEF, we have our own internal resources which comes from the pool of all the countries that contribute, including India contributing to the UN pool. And there are other resources which comes in from either the donor countries or it comes from various other partners. Increasingly, globally with the kind of funding scenario, there are also private sector funding, and we have a section, resource mobilization, which looks at various donations that comes in, and also there are collaborations which are non-financial. So, for example, if we have to raise an issue on climate change, There could be a non-financial kind of an engagement with platforms such as academic institutions, universities, schools, and youth platforms. So that's where there is a knowledge sharing. There is also about the platform, and as UNICEF, because our mandate is also to work with the government systems, we amplify the voices and we can negotiate. We can be on the negotiating table to address some of the issues which are difficult. These are long-drawn processes. We do not get results in a day or in a year. Sometimes some of the issues may require longer time. But where we do generate evidences, and based on evidences we generate and we do advocacy in the government systems.
So next question is for Abhi and for Shrikant Sharma ji. You both review the policies and policies on climate change, environment, by the of India, Rajasthan, and other countries as well. So what did you find? Do you think these policies are good enough? Do you think these policies have the scientific temperament to deal with the challenge which we are facing, or they're lacking in somewhere? Why we can't see the result on the ground?
Actually, when you see everybody knows about the global climate crisis is going on. Like when you see the Amazon forest is burning, Californian forest is burning, forest fire is a major disasters right now. Flooding is there in Australia. Even the whole Europe is facing the flooding problems. Different landslide problems are there. So many disasters are there right now. Tsunamis are there. Every day we are facing the problems. And everyone knows that the policies, because the COP27 is going to end right now. Yeah, but India is also agreeing to the coal-based products decreasing by blah blah blah, like 2015 or something like that. But the major question is that the policy which we are making or which we are presenting there, our policy in terms of India, every time we are working more only towards getting the fund. Likewise, the REDD and REDD plus, reduction emission for deforestation and degradation. And the REDD plus approach is an incentive-based scheme. Likewise, if the developed countries are cutting the trees, in spite of this one, we are growing the trees and we are getting the money in terms of this one. So our main focus or agenda is to getting the fund in spite of the proper policy and proper planning also. So better is that definitely the proper planning is lacuna also, but the other major problem in spite of the thing is that the implementation is also. So the better thing is that, suppose one example I am giving to you, that we are talking about the desertification in Rajasthan. But have you think that what is the causes behind this one? Why the desertification is going on toward the eastern side? You must heard about the Aravalli, which is the world's oldest range on the earth. The Aravalli range. From Gujarat, Palanpur to the Delhi. Even the Rashtrapati Bhavan, Raisina Hills is made up on the Aravalli Hills. And right now the upper part of the Aravalli is a green belt. You can say it's a green belt. The green wall of India, you can say. One side the desert is there, one side is the semi-desertic region is there. And another side we can say we are just, and you see the situation of the Aravalli right now. Everywhere in the northern part of, which is very adjoining to the Gurgaon, is totally demolished. Totally demolished. And everywhere the encroachment is there. Only the scattered part which you find out, which is nearby the southern Rajasthan, you can say in the Kumbhalgarh region or Udaipur region only. So we are just depleting our natural resources, over-exploitation, illegal mining, encroachment.
So you are saying that policies are not addressing this real issue?
Yes, definitely. This is the policy issue and implementation issue also, sir.
Reed, what's your take on this?
I think with most of the policies that are formulated by the government, it is also required that we keep reassessing them at the right times and also with the right perspective. So, for example, the Rajasthan Action, action plan, it is so obsolete that it is it is 10 years old. And if they relook at just, keeping it as a draft, they will have to reopen and relook at it with the recent developments, especially post-COVID, right? So many perspectives have changed, so many in terms of climate change has also changed. And when we talk about reviewing policies, India is so diverse. You can't just compare the problems, for example, people face in Rajasthan to water shortage crisis in Kerala. Also in terms of how India is now promising at the COP that they will become like net zero by 2070. But have we really measured the mid-target scenarios from becoming net zero? Can we please look at maybe going, carbon neutral, then to zero carbon? So considering that, we will have to definitely look at different perspectives, and also a lot will have to be focused on the vulnerable communities, because the people who are at the worst after effects of climate are the ones who are closely connected to the earth, and they can do very little about it. So considering that, I think the government should also open a lot of data to the public so that it becomes a little bit transparent and people are able to make their own assessments about that.
Right. So she made a very valid point, and it's very important for all of you right here that whenever government comes up with any policy, they give ample of time to the civil society to share their remarks on it, to share their opinion on it, to share their suggestion on it. So the government is following all the rules. It's on you to take out time from your busy schedule, read the policy, read the draft, and share your suggestions to the government. That is not happening. Right? And second point, which Abhi rightly said, it's a fact also that none of the agencies, or I would say most of the agencies dealing with data, they are not providing data, or they are not uploading the data simply on their website, so that you, me, everybody can access it. It's a right? So now I am opening this session for question and answers. If anybody has any question, they can raise their hands. I think we have volunteers here with Mike. Right. I encourage you to ask questions. We have a very wonderful panel here. We have a girl right there, yeah?
Good morning, everyone. My question is directed to Dr. Rajesh Goyal, sir. Sir, we all have been using semiconductors in our daily lives. For example, in our phones, computers, healthcare services, etc. But not many people know that a single chip manufacturing factory uses about 20 million gallons of water per month, which is very less of which is recycled and most of it is waste. Also, many toxic chemicals are used. This is further increasing the carbon footprint. Is this really sustainable development? So, is there any thought by which semiconductors can be made without the wastage of so much pure water?
Mr. Shoyab, can you repeat the question? I couldn't listen because of my sound.
Right, sir. So the girl wanted to know that the semiconductors which are being made, it use a lot of water. So is there any way out to minimize the use of water while making semiconductors? And semiconductors have become part and parcel of our lives now.
I didn't get it. What is the exact question? Semiconductor?
Yes, semiconductors.
Or?
It utilizes a lot of water. Right, so the girl is asking that is there is any way through which we can minimize the use of water while making semiconductors, as semiconductors have become part and parcel of our lives now.
No, I got it. Actually, there are many ways we can recycle, we can reuse, we can save the water for any industry. Like I understand that a lot of water is being used for the processing of in many industries, like passive cooling, active cooling, all those things. So there are ways we can reuse and recycle the water. In case of agriculture, right now we are focusing more on the recycling of wastewater. We have We have a very small plant at Jodhpur, one can visit us, where we are recycling the wastewater. So recycling and reuse is the only way you can save some water, even for 700 people.
Right, hope you got the answer.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, we have a girl right here. Volunteer, please can you give mic to the girl?
Sir, before some other students ask question, I would like to ask one question from the students. Why they are worried about climate change? What is their concern about climate change? Any student can answer.
That's a very interesting question. What is
Why
your
they are
concern?
what is the concern as a student about climate change?
Anybody would like to respond? You want to respond to this question? Yeah, please.
So I think every one of us has seen news headlines where there are cyclones in a part of the country and droughts in the other, and not even in the country but the entire world. So we really have to see that this is a big issue right now, and it is a slow poison. Like every other wave, they are like pretty devastating, all this, but this is a very slow poison, and we do not work towards it right now, there will probably be a no tomorrow. So that's why I think we all are working towards it.
Okay,
Right, sir.
thank you.
Anybody have questions? You have any question now?
So I read a study which showed that vegans have the least carbon footprint. My question is directed to Dr. Lakshmikant. And vegans have the least carbon footprint, so I started my journey towards veganism. I left eggs and chicken and everything. But now studies are showing that climate change is affecting the farm goods the most. So like, what is your take on that, and how can we save the planet in that way?
Actually, the matter of the eating habits is a choice based basically, but we cannot change everybody. But right now the concept is going on, the vegan is more taking toward the carbon footprinting or the ecological footprinting. But again the question, this is not established right now. Because what I am telling to you that for my organization I have developed the carbon footprinting. So each and every organization should have their own carbon footprinting, and they should be displayed on their own websites. First thing, so that it will be a remarkable situation in terms of the climate change adaptation and all these things. So everybody should know about what is the carbon footprinting and how we can reduce all these things. But in total way, we cannot say that we are reducing the carbon footprinting due to our own habits or all these things. But we can generate the awareness among the peoples, among our society, that we have to degrade the carbon footprints so that we can live in a livable cities or livable environment particularly.
Thank you so much.
Sure,
I'm sorry.
No, that's
Please,
fine.
yeah, sorry.
Just
I
like
want to
to-
keep for student section.
Just like to add to what was being said, the choices, and we all have choices to make, and so the thumb rule is how do you reduce. So let's say if it's about food, we don't waste food, whatever we can eat. So we don't so that can be one way, because then there is a whole cycle. Second thing is about choices of using something local, because carbon footprint is also about, now we know that we have access to avocados and quinoa and all from across, but can we be local? We used to have seasonal fruits and vegetables, and now we have access to it. So those are some small steps that we can take, like you made a conscious shift. These are also some conscious shifts.
Right, please go ahead.
So my question is for Lakshmikant Sharma sir. We have seen the solar panel usage around the world has increased by 22% this year, and now accumulates of about 3.5% of the total energy consumption. So what should we do? What steps should we take to motivate the scientists to improve the efficiency of solar panels, and made people buy solar panels instead of the regular fuels and normal things they're using.
So you're talking about actually the renewable resources.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, the effective way of the usage of the renewable resources is a one way. But what one finding ways is just surprising you that the government policies is that we are using or go toward the sustainable way of the energy or something, solar panels also there. But other sides, if we are using the solar panels, then what do you think about the land degradations? That is another very, very serious concern. Land is also a prime importance to us. Sadhguru has already, recently launched the campaign about the land, soil conservation. So, one time we are just going toward the decreasing our desertification and turn into the greenland. One time we are going to this type of project. And another time we are also going for the upliftment of the green energy, you can say. And you must surprise that so many wetlands are occupied by some of the solar roof panels. We are producing the energy, but we are disturbing our own natural resources, our habitats also. That is leading to the climate change situation ultimately. So that's why I am telling, each and everything is very, very unique, and it should be, in perfect manner, if it is utilized, then it will be a good thing. Otherwise, it may be the worst.
Right, thank you. You have a question, sir? Please.
I think I am the most senior student. Right, sir, right, please. I have a question to you, Sohail, being a very senior correspondent and journalist. Don't you feel that the government is never interested to give priority to the climate change on their political agenda and wants that there should be an awareness amongst the civil society so they can do their business whatever they want to do. So what is your observation and how the civil society can bring this issue for the priority of the government?
All right, so sir has asked a very interesting question, that why the political class has never ever or never raising this issue vehemently at all the platforms, and how civil society can contribute in ensuring that this can become an issue. So first of all, he is right that the political class, if I talk about the state of Rajasthan, has not even acknowledged the problem of climate change, which we are discussing and deliberating for the 1.5 hours, and we have been listening and hearing for the past 1 decade. None of the political parties have ever used the word climate change in their election manifesto, which is a Earth state. Never ever, I have been covering Vidhan Sabha, that building you have seen, the dome type building, assembly, their lawmakers, they make laws which impact our day-to-day life. Never heard anybody raising the issue of climate change in that dome, which decides our future. And you know the reason why they are complicit and they are not even acknowledging this as an issue. Even the elected representatives of Western Rajasthan, which are at the fore of climate change. Do you know the reason why they are not raising this issue, which is a major issue, right? The reason is inactive civil society. Because you are not making it an issue. You are not discussing it. You are not deliberating it. You are waiting others to raise the issue. Please understand, we live in democracy. In democracy, the thumb rule is that we need to actively participate each and every aspect of it. If you will not debate, discuss, and you will not communicate what you want to your elected representatives, that issue you will never find being raised by them. We as a civil society have our duties, but for bringing any institutional change, we have to rely on whom? To the elected representatives, right? So we can always exert pressure on them by talking about an issue, by giving memorandums to us, by writing letters to them, by forcing them to at least acknowledge that this is impacting our life, if not now, but in future it is going to impact. So students, what you can do is, you can start doing this campaign from now. We have our elected representatives, right? You're living in state capital, right? Reach out to them. Ask them, sir, ma'am, why you have never raised this issue? It is impacting us. Look at what the world leaders are deliberating, in COP27, which is concluding today, without much result. So, you have to be the force reckoned with. Unless and until you will, realize that this is an issue which you want to be addressed, it is never going to be addressed. Addressed at the right channel. Today what we have done is, we have taken a first step. First step is to create awareness on this issue. And what all we expect from you is, what all you've heard, you'll go back home, tell your parents about it. That father, mother, this issue is going to create a problem. Right? Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question for Peter Cook.
Peter, are you here? There's a question for you. Peter, can you hear us?
Yeah. Sorry, yes, could you repeat the question for me, please?
Peter, now we Indians are we are more glad that now an Indian origin, Mr. Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. So I want to know from you that what we can expect from him to have better relations with UK and India.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I'm obviously delighted that Rishi Sunak has become Prime Minister. I think he comes into office at a very important time. I think he recognized the challenges that the world is facing. He traveled to Bali. He was in the conversation about the G20, and also I think has been following very closely the meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh on COP27 on the environment and climate change. And he has expressed his commitment to follow through on all the promises that we made in Glasgow. UK will still maintain leadership in climate change. We will live up to the promise we made for international climate finance. We will do more to try and support areas like reforestation to tackle desertic, nature-based solutions. We've announced a number of projects in Africa to support this, in Kenya, in the Congo Basin. Also now President Lula won the election in Brazil and will already committed to try and preserve the rainforest in the Amazon. And so I hope that we will see continued leadership from Rishi. I hope we will also see, and he said so, that he wants to see a UK in partnership on climate. Looking at some of areas where India is taking the world on the International Solar Alliance, on the resilience infrastructure that is vital to protect communities that are climate change. That desert on the edge of the Thar Desert, it includes those who are coastline where storms, floods, like we saw sometimes in West Bengal, in the south of India when there are floods, when there are storms. All of these things are very damaging to our society, to the infrastructure. So the more that we can protect these, the better. And so I think we will see continued leadership. I hope you will see a higher profile for UK and India working in partnership together. That would be particularly important. And I hope you will see us do more things in Rajasthan. I want very much to do that we promote the on climate change in Rajasthan, to engage with the people, particularly with the school children this morning, but also other society, civic society. It's such an important chapter. We cannot afford to fail, but we need all the change makers we can get in order to make that happen. I hope that's what we'll see. That's definitely what I'm hearing about Rishi Sunak's leadership as Prime Minister in the UK. I hope that helps.
I would like to invite the chairman of the Vidyalaya, Mr. Vikramaditya Singh, to speak a few words.
Thank you, Aisha. We had a useful and insightful discussion here with all our distinguished panelists. You know problems they've told us about, and these are problems that all of you are going to face. I hope some of you think of taking this climate challenge up as a career. As you know, the school itself is trying to do its bit to reduce our carbon footprint. We put up solar panels. To conserve water, we have rainwater harvesting here. We know not even a drop of water that falls on the school campus goes out. It all goes into rain harvesting. We use sprinkler irrigation instead of flood, and that saves a lot of water. We removed all the old RO machines because that wasted a lot of water. It's aquaguard now. Plastic bags, as you know, we banned a long time back. And henceforth, we are going to ban all disposable plastic bottles. So that will also hopefully make a big change to the environment. These are very small steps, but you kids, you are going to have huge challenges to face once as you grow up. And I hope you will go back from here, you'll talk to your parents, talk to your friends, and tell them that, look, we're going to save the world, we want to live here. This is the only planet we have. So that's it, and thank you to all the panelists. You've been very enlightening. Thank you.
I now invite the head boy of the Vidyalaya, Zohaib Abbas Abbasi, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Wear gratitude like a cloak, and it will fill every corner of your life. Greetings to one and all present here. I would like to take this opportunity to present the vote of thanks. The panelists, Mr. Peter Cook, Dr. Lakshmikant Sharma, Mr. Rajesh Kodal, Mr. Rishabh Himani, and Mr. Veer Ahmed, whose insights have inspired everyone present here today to work for the cause of saving the environment, are truly deserving of our thanks. We would also like to extend a special thanks to Mr. Shoaib Khan for enabling us to take the lead in the Jaipur for Climate campaign. He is not only a parent of the Vidyalaya, but a parent of this program as well. We would also like to extend our gratefulness to the British High Commission and UNICEF for coming forward to support the Vidyalaya in our endeavour to support the climate campaign in Jaipur. We thank all the parents for always ensuring the success of the Vidyalaya's events. We are highly grateful to the teachers of the Vidyalaya who are guiding and encouraging us in the implementations of our plans for this mission. We thank the students who are showing immense enthusiasm for aiding the cause of the Jaipur for Climate campaign, and who will also, we are sure, motivate their family to come forward in fulfilling the pledge that they have taken today. In the end, we would also like to thank the school management for their consistent support in every school program. Thank you.
I hope we have all become more aware of the importance of the environment and the urgent need to work towards its conservation.